Emma Clark was the kind of traveler who thrived on adventure. At 26, she had already explored much of the Pacific Northwest, always seeking the untamed corners of nature where few dared to go. When she announced her plan to visit Alaska, friends warned her about the risks, the remoteness, the harsh weather, the unpredictable wildlife. But Emma waved off their concerns with a confident smile. "That's exactly why I'm going," she said, her eyes sparkling with excitement. She packed lightly, carrying only the essentials: a backpack, a tent, a few survival tools, and her ever-present camera. Her plan was simple: explore the backcountry trails near Denali National Park and document her journey for her travel blog. Upon arriving in Alaska, Emma was instantly captivated. Towering mountains stretched across the horizon, glaciers glimmered like shards of crystal, and dense forests seemed to whisper secrets from the past. She spent her first few days photographing wildlife and meeting local guides, absorbing every detail of the wilderness. But Emma's true goal was to venture deeper, farther than the usual tourist paths, into areas where few people ever dared to go. She told a park ranger that she planned to spend a week alone, filming and hiking. And while the ranger cautioned her about the dangers of traveling solo, Emma insisted she was prepared. There was a hint of stubbornness in her determination, a belief that the wild could be tamed with courage and skill. Her last known messages to family and friends were casual and upbeat. She described the fresh air, the breathtaking landscapes, and the thrill of discovering untouched trails. She promised to send updates regularly, sharing pictures of her adventure and the wildlife she encountered. But after that final cheerful text, all communication stopped. When her friends tried calling, the line went straight to voicemail. Days turned into weeks, and still there was no word. Local authorities launched a search, scouring trails, rivers, and forests. But no trace of Emma was ever found. It was as if she had simply vanished into the vast, icy expanse of Alaska, leaving only questions and a growing sense of unease behind. 4 years after Emma Clark vanished, the Alaskan wilderness remained as silent and unyielding as ever. Dense forests stretched for miles, and winding trails were often swallowed by fog and shadow. It was during a routine hiking trip that a small group of adventurers stumbled upon something that made them freeze in disbelief: a tiny, weathered cabin hidden in a grove of towering evergreens. The structure looked decades old, its wooden walls gray and splintered, roof sagging under years of snow and rain. Moss crept up the sides, and broken windows reflected the pale sunlight in eerie angles. It was a place that seemed forgotten by time, as if the forest itself had grown around it, claiming it as its own. Curiosity pulled the hikers closer. Pushing aside the creaking door, they stepped inside and were greeted by a scene both mundane and haunting. Dust covered every surface, but there were signs that someone had been here recently. A tin cup on the counter, a half-burned candle on a makeshift shelf, and most strangely, a camera resting in the corner as if deliberately left behind. The air was thick with the smell of damp wood and decay, and every creak of the floorboards echoed unnaturally in the empty room. The hikers exchanged nervous glances. They all felt it, the unmistakable sensation that they were trespassing in a place that was not meant to be discovered. As they explored further, the cabin revealed more of its secrets. Drawers contained old, yellowed maps, and a journal lay half hidden under a pile of tattered blankets. But it was the camera that drew the most attention. Unlike the other items, it looked surprisingly intact. its lens unbroken and memory card seemingly untouched by time. Something about it sent a chill down their spines, a sense that it might hold answers to questions that had lingered for years. The cabin itself seemed almost alive, as though it had been waiting patiently for someone to uncover it, for someone to bear witness to the story that had been sealed within its walls. Back in town, the hikers carefully removed the memory card from the camera and plugged it into a laptop. At first, the screen showed nothing but a few harmless shots, pictures of forest paths, snow-covered peaks, and Emma smiling at the camera. It was almost ordinary, almost serene. But as they continued scrolling, the tone shifted. The images became darker, more isolated. Emma alone in the vast wilderness, her clothes worn and weathered, eyes tired but determined. The camera seemed to capture not just her surroundings, but her growing struggle to survive in a place that was slowly consuming her. Each frame told a story of courage, resilience, and an eerie loneliness that felt almost suffocating. Then the videos began. The first few were upbeat, with Emma narrating her journey and showing off breathtaking views, pointing out wildlife and sharing small victories, building a fire, finding fresh water, navigating treacherous trails. But as the footage progressed, her tone changed. Her voice grew quieter, her words more fragmented. She filmed herself checking the cabin's perimeter, scanning the woods for signs of life beyond the ordinary. Shadows seemed to linger longer than they should, and distant noises, branches snapping, low growls, whispers of wind, added an unsettling layer to the recordings. It was clear that the forest, which had once inspired awe in her, had begun to feel threatening, oppressive, and strangely alive. By the time the hikers reached the final batch of recordings, the atmosphere had turned chilling. Emma's eyes darted nervously toward the edges of the frame, and she frequently whispered warnings to herself. In one clip, she points the camera at a window as if she has seen something that she does not dare confront directly. Her breathing is heavy, her hands trembling, and the faint sound of movement outside the cabin grows louder with every passing second. The screen freezes on her terrified face for a moment before the video abruptly cuts to black, leaving a lingering silence that makes it impossible to shake the feeling that someone or something was watching, waiting, and unwilling to let her go. As the hikers delved deeper into the footage, it became horrifyingly clear how much Emma's situation had deteriorated. Her once bright eyes now reflected exhaustion and fear, and her cheerful commentary was replaced by whispered monologues of anxiety. She filmed herself scavenging for food, poking at frozen streams for fish, and attempting to trap small animals to survive. The camera captured her trembling hands as she struggled to start a fire in the damp, icy air. Her voice sometimes cracked with frustration and despair, revealing how the isolation of the wilderness had begun to eat away at her resolve. Every frame seemed to echo the haunting realization that survival alone in such a vast, unforgiving land was slowly breaking her. Stranger things began appearing on the footage as well. At first, it was just fleeting glimpses, a shadow darting between the trees, a rustle in the brush when no wind was blowing. Emma often paused the camera to focus on the sound, whispering to herself in terror. Soon, these occurrences became more frequent and alarming. One night, the camera recorded faint footsteps circling the cabin, though no human presence was ever visible in the frame. On multiple occasions, Emma's panicked whispers hint at seeing figures just beyond the line of sight, silhouettes moving with unnatural speed. The fear in her eyes was undeniable, as if she had realized she was not entirely alone, and whatever was out there did not want her to leave. In her final days on tape, Emma's desperation escalated to frantic survival. She barricaded the cabin windows with scrap wood and even tried creating makeshift alarms from tin cans, hoping to warn herself of any intruders. She spoke into the camera in hushed tones, recording messages she might never send, pleading for someone to understand what she had encountered. Her hair had grown wild, her clothes ragged and soaked, and her voice trembled with exhaustion and dread. In one particularly harrowing clip, she aimed the camera at the doorway as a shadow stretched across the threshold, her voice barely audible as she whispered, "Please, just go away," before the recording abruptly cut to darkness, leaving a chilling silence that seemed almost alive in itself. When authorities traced the cabin after the hikers' discovery, they were met with more questions than answers. The structure had clearly been abandoned for decades, its history lost to time, yet the camera footage told a different story, one of recent and terrifying events. Experts examined the recordings, noting the distinct sounds of wildlife, shifting weather, and the subtle creaks of the old cabin, all aligning with the area's known conditions. But what couldn't be explained were the shadowy figures that appeared only fleetingly, moving with a fluidity that seemed almost unnatural. It was as if the forest itself had conspired to hide something or someone from the outside world, watching Emma's every move while keeping her trapped in a nightmare that only she could see. The more authorities reviewed the footage, the stranger the inconsistencies became. Certain angles of the cabin and surrounding trees appeared different from what the hikers observed, almost as if the camera had captured elements that no longer existed. Items in the cabin shifted between videos, and at times, the lens seemed to focus on empty spaces, as if something had passed just out of frame. Experts speculated endlessly. Psychological stress, hallucinations from isolation, or some unknown force in the wilderness. But no definitive answers emerged. Each new observation deepened the sense of unease, leaving officials and viewers alike questioning whether Emma had merely succumbed to the unforgiving environment, or if something far more sinister had claimed her. The final clips left the deepest mark on anyone who watched them. Emma's voice, once lively and confident, had all but disappeared, replaced by ragged whispers and frantic warnings to an unseen presence. The last recording showed her backing into a corner, camera shaking, eyes wide, while a long shadow loomed in the doorway. Then the screen went black. Even today, the hikers who discovered the cabin describe sleepless nights haunted by the image of Emma's terrified face. The Alaskan wilderness remains vast and untamed, and while some hold on to hope that she survived somehow, others fear the chilling truth that Emma Clark's final days were not only a fight against nature, but against something far older, darker, and impossible to escape. As the camera cuts to black, we are left with more questions than answers. Did Emma Clark manage to escape the shadow that haunted her in the Alaskan wilderness? Or did she become another secret of the forest, claimed by something beyond human understanding? The cabin still stands, hidden among the towering trees, holding the echoes of her final days. And somewhere out there, in the vast, silent wilderness, the truth waits, watching, patient, and perhaps unwilling to ever let us know what really happened. So next time you hear the wind howl through the Alaskan trees, or catch a glimpse of a shadow where none should be, remember Emma Clark and know that sometimes the wilderness doesn't just test you, it remembers you.
If you liked this video, don't forget to hit that like button, share it with your friends, and drop your thoughts in the comments below. Most importantly, subscribe and hit the bell icon so the next secret finds you first.